West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
It's
And
8
each
a.m.
other.
in the Mile High City. Phone
God help us.
lines
What
are
a blessing.
hot.
We need all
Text
the help we
messages
can
are
get.
hot
Here's
as Deep Singh Badhesha, a card-carrying member of the Democrat Socialists of America. He's got a poster of Mondami in his room. He looks at it every morning. No.
It's actually just a mirror. I just look at it and I'm like, he's a handsome guy. I think I have a better beard, but overall, I think
You do have a
looks
great
better.
beard. And somebody said, in the beard wars, Deep's definitely winning today. And I agree with that.
The real reason
you
that we
actually
can't have more
style it.
immigrants is that white men would lose the beard war, and we can't have that. Make America bearded again.
He's a lot of fun. I appreciate him coming in. And, boy, the text messages, you've walked into conservative talk radio as a card-carrying member of the Democrat Socialists. You can only imagine what the text messages look like. But he's here. We're having the debate. It's a lot of fun. Let's go to Dwayne in Divide. Dwayne, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Deep.
Good morning, Jeff. Deep, okay. Jeff, I'm sure you're going to have a biohazard crew come in and clear out all the crap that's being spread in that studio right now after this show. But, Mr. Deep, I love your smug cattiness that you sit there and just throw off one item after another real solution. I can sit there and say a few things that are of real solutions that have happened in my life with Medicaid back years ago when I was not doing very well financially. And also militarily, where I sat there and served this country, which doesn't sound that you have an interest in doing so. Although you're highly educated, it doesn't seem you have much in the old line of street smarts, and probably couldn't even tie your shoes unless you had a video.
Well, Dwayne, I think
Was there a question there?
there's not any question there. It's kind of a barrage of personal attacks
Did
against
Dwayne just said that
Deep.
he uses the government welfare state and then?
Well,
doesn't
I
want
think
for other people?
he said he appreciated it, Medicaid when he needed it. So
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump's about to cut that for folks, and unfortunately, you see with this government shutdown that the Republicans let do that. Military families.
you
are
think the
waiting-
Republicans did that?
Well, they're-
Why don't you just pass the
They have a
continuing
trifecta.
resolution?
They have a trifecta. They should just do it themselves.
No, you
They
need
have
to have
enough votes.
60. No,
No,
they
you
don't have
don't.
enough
That's a
votes. You
big
need
number.
60 votes.
They don't use 60 votes ever. If you want to appoint judges, if you want to pass a big bill like the
Harry
One Beautiful
Reid for
Bill
that.
Act, if you want to do anything in this
But that
country,
was reconciliation process.
the Senate parliamentarian, when it came to Joe Biden, let the Senate parliamentarian stop his biggest, boldest agendas, right? He's like, oh, well, we can't violate process, or like, oh, I need 60 votes for this. When the same thing happened with the One Beautiful Bill Act, I'm sure they went up to Donald Trump and like, hey, the Senate parliamentarian says we can't do this. I'm sure Donald Trump was like, who's the Senate parliamentarian? Why would I care? If they wanted to fund the government, Donald Trump could snap his fingers and Republicans in Congress would do whatever he says, right? The very fact is that Donald Trump wants his government shut down. He doesn't want military families to be paid. He wants to take people off of Medicare. And that's something the Republicans are living with. And
What
Dwayne-
evidence do you
Dwayne,
have
it
that
sounds
he
like
doesn't want military families to get paid?
they're not being paid right now.
Right, but you said he
'Cause
wants
they're
them
closing the
not to be
government.
paid.
They're closing the government.
But there's a simple, clean, continuing resolution
That
that
they
just
can pass.
keeps this
That
thing
they can
going.
pass.
No, it
Republicans
needs
have
60 in the
Republicans
Senate.
control the Senate and they control the House.
By what, 3 votes in the
And they
Senate?
can pass
And
it.
you need to have 60.
Sounds like Republicans need to get their house in order. Like this government shutdown is absolutely 100% on the Republicans.
No,
They're in charge.
Deep, it takes 60 votes.
You all have
right.
the White House. You're able to pass monumental legislation. You're able to close agencies. You're able to reshape American culture.
So why-
however you want, but you can't open the government. It's on Donald Trump.
Why won't the Democrats agree to a clean continuing
Democrats
resolution?
are in the minority.
Yeah, but why not agree to it? Like, they're done. Like, if you really cared about the military getting paid, you could have that debate later on healthcare stuff, and you would just get this government moving again.
Democrats should hold the line. Democrats should say what Donald Trump is using the federal government for is unjust and inappropriate, and they will have no part of it. If they would like to pass a budget, they need to do it with their own votes. Which they can.
We're still doing Nancy Pelosi's budget.
They can.
So how is that unjust? We've been doing these continuing resolutions forever. We had to do reconciliation to get anything that Trump wanted. So
Again-
how is it unjust?
Again, Donald Trump and the Republicans have the votes. If they want to open the government and pay the military families, they can.
9588. This guy is great. He speaks my language. He's killing it.
Follow me on
There
X.
you go. Yeah, what is your X account?
Deep, not shallow. So deep.
There you go.
You know, like the opposite of shallow, so deep, not shallow. So that's where Jeff and I became acquaintances.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why these comments don't worry me. If you see my comments on, the thing is, like, I actually went through and I saw how many. So I don't block many people. I do block people now if they put my personal if they put my personal information out there. If they talk about my family member, if they put my address, they do that kind of stuff. They get a block for sure. I have people who have like, parody accounts. It's kind of fun. I'm like, wow, look, I have fans.
That's right. They do. You do have a parody account.
I also know that guy, which is the funniest thing. I'm like, wow, what a hobby, man. He's a Bears fan, so I think it's rough for him. So I think he needed a new hobby. But I read those comments, and they're mostly muted now. So I've muted like over 1,500 accounts on X. So these comments don't bother me.
There you go. Well, you're a good sport for
but
coming
I like
in.
this guy.
9588. Thanks, you're great. All right, we're going to continue. Matea, Indiana, you'll be up next. Now is time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, good Tuesday morning, 46 and mostly cloudy. Expecting a high of 74 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
No, they can't. And it's sad to see. In part, that's why the government is shut down. It's not because of any major policy fights, Stu. It's about Trump derangement syndrome.
Byron Donalds, Florida, the current government shutdown could end up being one of the longest in history. Senate lawmakers back at the Capitol today to take another swing at ending the Schumer shutdown.
They're trying to prove to their base that they can stand up to Trump. So because of that, now federal workers are furloughed, some are going to get fired, and there's going to be other things that are going to happen. And you have troops, TSA agents, etc., who are not getting paid, all because Chuck Schumer, Senate Democrats, and House Democrats, mind you, want to prove that they're tough to stand up to Donald Trump. Go ask Hamas how that worked.
That was a good one. DJT hailing the signing of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas during his trip home last night, actually this morning from the Middle East. Trump said rebuilding of Gaza must now be addressed.
I'm talking about something very much different. We're talking about rebuilding Gaza. I'm not talking about single state or double state or two state. We're talking about the rebuilding of Gaza.
And Scott Adams, just in case you haven't heard it.
So meanwhile, while the so-called Hitler is finding peace for Israel, the Democrats are still whining about him being an authoritarian Hitler, while we're all watching the authoritarian Hitler bring peace to the entire world.
And DJT arrived in D.C. at about 3 o'clock this morning from the Middle East. And on the plane, complimenting Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary. This is great.
Is that right? How's Caroline doing? Is she doing good? Should Caroline be replaced?
No. That's up to you, sir.
It'll never happen.
Nobody wants to. I say she does a great job. Do you want to elaborate on
Katie, and those lips, they move like a machine gun, right?
Do you want to elaborate?
Those lips move like a machine gun, Caroline Leavitt. So the president returned and made sure he returned so he could honor the late, great Charlie Kirk today at the White House. It would have been Charlie's 32nd birthday today. Erica Kirk will be at the White House this morning. GE Aerospace launches a $30 million investment for workforce here in the States as a result of DJT's executive order, another economic victory. Communities across southern Colorado recovering after more than 6 inches of rain fell in just 2 days, triggering flash floods and forcing nearly 400 evacuations near a Vallecito reservoir. Chief Bruce Evans of the Upper Pine River Fire Protection District.
We're grateful at this point, nobody has died.
Officials say at least 2 homes may have been destroyed and may be destroyed and dozens more damaged. Flood watches remain in effect through Tuesday with remnants of Tropical Depression Raymond expected to bring more heavy rain. Governor Polis has issued, of course, a disaster declaration to assist La Plata and Archuleta counties. And here we go, wokety woke. The Cincinnati police chief, remember her? Wow. Here's a stern warning to criminals in Cincinnati and the thugs there.
And so,
oh, by the way, learn how to behave, okay?
So my message to everybody, learn how to behave in our city, but especially learn how to behave in our downtown and our Fountain Square. And our officers will approach you if you start to behave disorderly on Fountain Square.
Yeah, they're going to approach you. That's her message.
Because these things sometimes start as a minor altercation and then evolve into something bigger. So do not come downtown, especially on Fountain Square, if you don't know how to behave.
If you don't know how to behave. Wow. She didn't say anything about arresting them, holding them accountable. Oh, man. All right, the Avalanche beat the Sabres last night 3-1. They are 3-0-1. Great start. Mariners blew out the Blue Jays 10-3. 2-0 lead in the best of 7 American League Championship Series. And then the Dodgers, they win against the league best Milwaukee Brewers 2-1. Brewers in Game 1 of the NLCS. Monday Night Football last night, the Falcons upset the Bills 24-14, and the Bears a big victory over the Commanders 25-24. 43 in Parker, 44 in Wheat Ridge, and it is 46 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue, and Deep Singh is in Bill's chair. The rest of the way, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Temperatures will be a little bit more mild over the next couple of days. The southwest flow will push temperatures here in Denver into the 70s today and 70s tomorrow. With lows tonight, 40s to near 50 degrees. Same for Wednesday night. Breezy, sometimes gusty south winds. We're going to be cooler Thursday and Friday. And Thursday will bring a chance of showers, maybe a couple of thunderstorms with highs 50s and low 60s. Down to the upper 30s, a few showers Thursday night. Breezy, partly cloudy Friday with high 60s. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's out this week. Sitting in with me is Deep Singh Badhesha. He's a political strategist, a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. We're debating each other on lots of things. Let's go to Matea in Indiana. Good morning. You're on with Jeff and Deep.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Deep. I am really enjoying this conversation. I am a staunch anti-socialist and a young 20-year-old woman, so I understand that this is a huge conversation, especially for our generation and then upcoming generations. And there's this push and pull between young people becoming either really socialist or really conservative. So I am actually learning a lot from this conversation. So thank you both for actually being a great example for us younger ones who are looking for some actual good commentary. So thank you. I do have a question for Deep, and it's on the matter of the family. Recently in Chicago, there was this National Democrat Socialists of America. They hosted this panel event, and it was called The Left and the Family. And during that very long discussion, which I found fascinating, these individuals from DSA called for the abolition of the family unit because it is inherently, in their words, repressive, racist, and heterosexist of an institution. And they labeled this and they said it needed to be abolished because it functionally reinforces and reproduces capitalism. So with all that being said, I could kind of tackle each and every one of their criticisms. However, the family unit, traditionally man, woman, married with children, it's fostered generational security and prosperity for all its members, and it's promoted responsibility. It's called men and women higher. It's also proven to be the bedrock economically as an engine force for society. So, I mean, and I call that out as based upon like the U.S. Census Bureau and other analysis. I'm curious, why does the DSA want to abolish, and if not abolish, redefine the family unit?
That's a great question. Matea, thank you. Deep?
20 years old, listening to a radio show in Indiana. This is a unicorn. This is a fascinating individual. Thanks, Matea, for calling in. One, I can't speak on an individual panel with individual people saying individual things. I think it's a hard time believing that it's going to do that. But let's talk about the family unit, and let's talk about the village, so to speak. I think what's happened with American individualism and American capitalism is that we have taken what used to be the family unit and the village, and we have slowly dissected it into individual parts, and then you have to go to the free market and rent it back. Let's talk about childcare. In the Indian American culture, it's very typical that, my mom's going to come live with us. We're going to build a nice big ADU in the backyard for her. It's a 2,000 square foot ADU, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. So she's going to have plenty of time, but it's going to be in our backyard. So she's going to be living with us. And eventually my wife's family is going to come live with us too, right? So we live in a kind of collective unit, and you see this a lot with Asian American families and Indian American families, and that helps with childcare. Right? That helps with elder care. We don't have to rely on more of a government system, right? But what's happening with American individualism and capitalism promoted by this country is like, no, each person needs to live on their own. Each person needs to move out as soon as possible. And then once you move out, then you need to go rent these services back or pay for these services back from a free market. If we're talking about what do we do to make resilient communities, resilient families, and that's making sure people have the freedom and enough income from their labor that's not exploited to do this. Right now in America, to buy a house and to raise a family, you usually need a 2-parent income household, right? And that's very unfortunate. That's going to lead to less bonding with your children. That's going to lead to harder issues with childcare. It's going to lead to issues with elder care. And then people aren't saving enough money for retirement, which becomes a strain on that system, right? And this all comes down to the fact that American workers are not being paid enough for their labor. And they're being exploited by their bosses and the 1% that are taking way too much of their money.
But I think, I have lots of responses. Matea, do you want to respond?
Oh, there's so much there. I appreciate, I'm a Politico, so I appreciate the words that you threw out there and the jargon, because it's completely detracting away from what I was actually getting at, and that is the fact that we're talking about the abolition of the family, if not the redefinition of the family by the DSA, because that's the foundation of a lot of what the DSA promotes. So I'm going to reiterate, why does the DSA call for the redefinition, if not the complete abolition of the family? And I appreciate what you're doing with your family. FYI, I'm going to live multi-generational with my family and all of my siblings, but coming right back to the point, why does the DSA call for the abolition of the family in an official DSA forum? I don't understand why.
Again, don't know what forum you're talking about. And
but you don't think the DSA?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm very involved with DSA Denver, and most of those people are in families. Most of them have kids. Most of them have spouses. Most of them are like most DSA Denver folks are like the only people having kids sometimes that I see. Like when I go to events, like this has not been my lived experience with folks. I don't know what tangential panel it is, but this is like me saying, for example, that Republicans don't care about the family unit because Trump has been married 3 times and has kids from like 3 different people and doesn't live with his wife, and his kid was raised on his own, right? So like you can extrapolate from this weird thing. It's like, is Donald Trump a paragon of family values and family virtues? Meanwhile, someone like Barack Obama, like happily married, amazing father, amazing husband, someone who's really involved in his family, right? I mean, we could just scapegoat around. I just think if we're going to talk about, again, if we want stronger families, if we want a stronger village, stronger communities, we have to understand what is keeping those communities being formed. And oftentimes it is this exploitation level of capitalism that people want to make a profit, right? People are trying to put you in a retirement home and take as much money as possible from you. They're trying to make sure the mom and dad have to work, or both spouses have to work, whether you're in LGBTQ marriage or a traditional marriage. Like, that's what's keeping people from living the lives they want.
Now, Matea, we've got to let you go, but Matea does have a point in the sense that traditionally, absolutely, communists have wanted to see the destruction of the family. BLM, on their website, early on, they had to take it off after it was exposed, said that the destruction of the family, particularly the Western notion of the family, was central to the work that they were doing. So there's a long history of socialists and communists seeing the destruction of the family as central to getting rid of property rights, and having everybody serve the state in equal misery. But I do appreciate the fact that you're willing to embrace the importance of the family. And what I would say as a conservative is that your mom coming to live with you, and not just providing extra help, but that intergenerational transmission of values that's going to take place.
Yeah.
Right? Is so much more valuable than full day universal kindergarten. Right? That solution that Democrats come with, which is, no, the state is going to be the one that takes care of your kids. By the way, ignore whatever values the state's going to push on your kids. But the fact that you guys are looking at that intergenerational transmission of values, strong family unit, that is absolutely a conservative value.
I want to talk about the isolation that's happening from capitalism and the current American experience, right? You see this hyper individualism, this hyper exploitation, and this hyper isolationism that people face, right? You talk about the male loneliness epidemic. You talk about family units being abandoned, right? Even when you talk about the homelessness crisis that happens in America, right? This is happening because the driving force in America is for profit. Every single step of the way, whether it's at the educational level, the retirement level, the working level, people are not putting humans first. They're not putting society first. They're putting profits first, right? And if we're going to have a capitalism that's such zero sum, we're going to lead to these kind of disparities. I do believe in universal child care because I think it would lead to more freedom. It would lead to
go
better
to work.
No. More leisure time as well, right? And also, kids thrive in schools, right? You have more of a social dynamic. You're learning how to be with other people, right? And I think universal child care has been a very, very popular policy, both in Republican states and blue states. Having a highly educated populace that is reading at grade level, that is thriving. And we need to think about, what does the future look like with AI? Will the future look with hyper productivity? What type of education are we getting, folks? What are we... what the future generation to look like.
Can we go back real quick? Because I feel like you're saying both things at the same time. One, we really want healthy families. We want single income. We want that type of thing. Essentially what you're building personally. And then at the same time, I want universal preschool so that both parents can work. And I guess the other critique I have is that it wasn't this problem that we're having right now, this hyper individualism, both mom and dad having to work 9 to 5s in order to fulfill their lives.
Sometimes two jobs. It's not even 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah, right. Like multiple jobs. I don't think that's been historic throughout the entirety of America. I'd say that that's a problem that's really popped up since
Ronald
like the
Reagan
mid 80s. Okay.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
So, but we didn't just become a capitalist nation in '85, for instance.
In the
what
80s,
we
actually
became was hyper-feminized idea that both sexes need to be working, and the general 60s push at the destruction of the family.
Ronald Reagan's deregulation and focus that corporations must put shareholder value above everything else, and the fact that corporations require to make profit over everything else has really led to a devolution of everything. And even if you're looking at Ronald Reagan's policies around everything, the 80s really was a start. I mean, we are at the end around of a 30, 40-year era that started with Ronald Reagan, right? This neocon, neoliberal era, this hyper-capitalist era that has extracted as much as possible from the American families and the American workers. And what you're seeing is Donald Trump and hopefully different left progressives and populists on this side are trying to answer for all the exploitation that's happened, right? That people can no longer afford homes. The people buying homes is BlackRock and investment groups, right? The fact that you need multiple jobs and multiple breadwinners in the family to earn something. So we're at the tail end of that Reagan revolution, essentially, where we need to find a better way forward. And I don't think I'm trying to have both sides of this, right? I want Americans to thrive. I want American workers to thrive, American families to thrive, and I want maximum freedom. If freedom to you is being married and having kids with whatever spouse you want, then go for it. If freedom for you means, you work a single job, you don't get married, you just want to do your own thing, adventure the world, go be it. Right now, America is limiting freedom so that the top 1% and the oligarchs can have multiple yachts. And that's what I want to fix.
All right, so I understand your solution to these problems is addressing capitalism. And none of that, and I'll go back to the original debate you and I had, is with regards to a corporation, and I don't like big corporations controlling prices. I think that there's room to explore that. But you still have the free exchange of wealth. If I don't want Jeff Bezos to have my dollar, I have every right to do that. But if the government was going to come in and build these universal preschool programs, for instance, wants the money to do it, they take it from me. Do you see any problem with the government creating these problems?
The purpose of taxes and the purpose of the government should be to make a flourishing society, right? And it should be an investment. You should be able to see your taxes go somewhere and invest and make your life better, right?
But I don't want universal preschool. I don't want it.
We probably disagree on this. Are you okay with your taxpayer money going to a military-industrial complex?
No.
But you are okay with your taxpayer money going to Israel?
Of course.
So, see, this is a different value because
but
you believe your taxpayer money...
You can evaluate this stuff. And I don't want the military-industrial complex, but I'm okay with a strong border.
So you're okay with your taxpayer money going to Israel for their universal health care, for their child care
because
policies.
I know the Islamists will wipe them off the
but
earth
you're okay
the minute
with
they
your
get a
taxpayer
second.
policy going
and
to
I don't
subsidize their health care
Jews
and their
dying.
child care, but not with your neighbors and your own thing. So it becomes a priority. And I think when you ask Coloradoans, when you ask Americans... And that's why Donald Trump was able to come in and wipe out the neocons, right? He didn't come in and say, hey, America is going to be a laissez-faire, libertarian hellscape where you're all going to fight for each other. He said, no, I'm going to make sure you're getting your money's worth and the exploitation is going to stop. He's doing that in corrupt ways. He's lying to folks. He's locking up folks. I think he's giving them a raw deal. But on the other end, if Democrats aren't addressing those pains, we're going to keep losing, right? And that's what I think the American people want. And we can disagree on this, right? We're probably uniquely plugged into this, but I think American workers and American families want a good bang for their buck for taxes.
I think that's right. And Colorado spending and collecting more tax dollars than at any point in its history. Do you think it's delivering a bang for their buck in anything? RTD, Denver, healthcare, education, any of that stuff. They have more money than ever. And has any of those services gotten any better?
This is where I would love a left populist party to really tackle anti-corruption. This is something that Zohran Mamdani is doing really well in New York City that I think is going to go places. This is something that even like folks like Ezra Klein has talked about in his book Abundance, that we have created this like consultant, middle manager, bureaucratic class that skims off the top of government all the time. And we have taken away government capacity. If you look in California spent what, $30 billion
on a train that went nowhere.
There's no tracks, right? And or if you look in New York City, right? And in New York City, there's all this red tape. Zohran has come in and said, hey, I'm going to cut 50% of the red tape and fines for small businesses so they can thrive more, right? I'm going to make it so when we're building housing, it doesn't cost $1 million to make an affordable housing unit. We are going to look at the places where consultants are coming in or we need more capacity and do it much more efficient. And we can do this. France is a place that's not foreign to a social safety net or really strong unions. They can build trains cheaper. They can build housing cheaper. And 70% of their energy comes from renewable sources.
Nuclear
in particular. Right?
And you and I would agree on that.
We would probably agree on nuclear.
So
we
you're
have to
telling me
so I'm
Mamdani...
about government efficiency, We could. I almost said Doge there. That was. No, I am about building government capacity to actually do things. And I agree. If Americans feel like they're getting a raw deal, it's because they are. I'm not going to gaslight you. I mean, like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gaslit people like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't peek behind the curtain. I'm not telling you it's fine. I'm saying America is in crisis in many ways, right? And we need to address those things.
Deep Singh Badhesha, a member of the Democrat Socialists of America and a political activist, live in studio. As you can imagine, the text messages are super hot. The phone calls are hot. Let's get to a read, because I actually haven't done one of those today because we've been so into the debate.
Dan Kaplan.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Dan, did you know did you see the $200 million settlement he got?
That's amazing.
Well, is that amazing?
You know, I do feel like trial lawyers and plaintiff attorneys had, for so long, they didn't get the credit they need. And it's, what they're doing is really, really important. They're safeguarding our liberties from these companies that are going to be exploitive.
You and I would agree on that. We would agree on that. Because you saw what happened with that amusement park,
yeah.
right? They had a workaround for the seatbelt alarm.
Ridiculous.
That is absolutely justice. Dan Kaplan, bring in the socialists and conservatives together. He should run for office there. Dan Kaplan's Law, if you're hurt in an injury case, you got to give him a call. He spent 40 years of his life helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. And when a young girl died at an amusement park up in Glenwood Springs, through his investigations, he discovered that the company had a workaround that they trained their employees to use when the alarms went off, that there was a problem. They had an official policy. He exposed it. There was a punitive damage associated with it. A $200 million settlement sent a message to every other amusement park operation in the state of Colorado that you've got to put the safety of kids and their visitors first. Dan Kaplan's Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplan's Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. Or hit dankaplanslaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. The debate will continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's out this week. Sitting with me is Deep Singh Badhesha. He's a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. He's a political activist. Most importantly, he's a new dad. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's big news.
Thank you.
He's like on like 3 hours of sleep. I don't even remember those days. It's like I remember being married, and now I have teenagers, and there's just craziness and chaos in between. But such a good craziness and chaos. And you're Sikh by faith, or Sikh by faith, and I've interacted with the Sikh religion through religious freedom work that I did a bunch of, and strong family bonds. I mean, you guys build strong communities, strong family bonds. You said your mom's coming to live with you.
Yeah.
Great.
Community, living in community.
Great. Glad to have you with us. One of the things we were going to discuss was Denver 310. This is an effort to keep the ban on flavored tobacco in place. It's currently banned now, right? And then it's got to be passed again in order to maintain that ban. This is where he and I are going to probably switch places.
We're switching places. Should I go over there? Should I switch seats? Let me take.
Because you agree with the Denver GOP on this one, and then I think this stuff's totally predatory. I think they just want to hook kids early on.
Hear it out, everybody. Jeff has taken the side of Michael Bloomberg, and I have taken the side of the Denver GOP because I'm choosing freedom. I'm choosing liberty. I'm choosing that if you're a grown adult, you should be able to take a Zen, a vape, do whatever you want. And you've taken the side of Michael Bloomberg, who he has decided because he's a billionaire, he gets to decide what's best for Denver citizens.
Well,
Explain that to me.
I find it unique that you're like, for the last 2 hours and 40 minutes, you've been going, capitalism is predatory, capitalism is predatory. And then we look at like one of the most predatory capitalist institutions ever, the tobacco companies, and you're like, freedom! Help me understand that.
I think when it comes to any sort of drugs, right, we've seen that criminalization pushes things underground. You create black markets, which creates exploitation and creates issues. Just because opioids are illegal or fentanyl is illegal or when marijuana was illegal didn't mean it didn't go around, right? When New York City banned vapes and when DC banned vapes and other cities had banned vapes, vapes were still everywhere. And it was actually easier for kids to get. Because right now, if a kid wants to get a vape in Denver, they have to go to a grocery store or they have to go to a convenience store. And they have to get ID checked. And those ID checks are pretty rigorous. And they can't
stand outside and let someone else buy it for them.
Or you push everything underground, and then you're just getting at random like kiosks or random people off the street. Or you're ordering them online, where ID checks are really easy. So it's not going to solve the problem. What it's going to do is essentially it's going to make Michael Bloomberg feel better because Michael Bloomberg is a billionaire. And after you got a certain amount of money, you just want to feel like God, so you feel like passing policies. That's why Elon Musk and Bloomberg and all these billionaires just, like Peter Thiel, they just want to feel something in their bones, so they want to go out and tell Denver what to do. So I'm on the side. I'm again Denver GOP. This is one of those instances where I think the Denver GOP and DSA, when their ballot guy comes out, will be on the same issue. Where they're going to say vote no on 310. And allow people to buy flavored nicotine if they want to.
All right. So I'm about to tell you what is typically like makes my friends, my libertarian friends' heads explode, okay? But I'm absolutely right in this. And I'll give you the perfect example. I'll give you all the reasoning. Prohibition absolutely works. 100%. All the time, prohibition works, okay? Here's the example why. We often look at fentanyl or we look at those types of illegal drugs and we're like, look, they're still operating. They're still there. There's a black market. Okay, fentanyl killed 150,000 people last year. Terrible stuff, right? Terrible stuff. Tobacco company last year, tobacco-related deaths, 5 times that. Nearly 500,000, okay? You're looking at magnitudes of difference in part because I understand the power of the capitalistic system. And what you do with these tobacco companies or these vape companies or marijuana companies is you're unleashing the power of the free market system. Because what those vaping companies are interested in is future consumers. They want the kids getting this vape. They want the cherry and the sweet vape nicotine addiction taking place so that they have lifelong consumers. What's your response to that?
I feel like when you're banning things, it's always going to come down to the most sympathetic group, which in this case is going to be children, right? So we could talk about banning alcohol. How many deaths does alcohol cause?
A lot.
Almost more than cigarettes, actually, right? So
they're about 250 or 300,000.
So do you want
not quite as much?
Do you want to ban beers? It's a slippery slope.
No, well,
what are we going to stop banning?
Well, things that are addictive, like I would, and harmful. I have no problems using the power of the government to keep gambling restricted, for instance, or alcohol consumption or tobacco restricted because they are harmful, addictive, and when you pair that up with the power of the free market, let's go to gambling, for instance. You got half of male college students right now engaged in sports gambling. That is a pending, ginormous problem that we're going to face because of the amount of debt these guys are going to consume getting into it. It's addictive, it's harmful, and then you pair it with entities that want to get as many users as they possibly can, and you're going to end up with serious social consequences that I end up having to pay with.
It's starting to sound like a Democrat. Should I ask Michael Bloomberg if he wants to come on the show?
Yeah.
This is about what grown adults can do, right? I believe in maximizing liberty. I believe in maximizing freedom. And I believe you can actually have more freedom if you have a universal healthcare system, so you can quit your job if you have a bad boss or if you're being sexually assaulted. Or you can move across the country, right, and still have healthcare. You can still have childcare. So I believe in these universal services because I believe in freedom. And if grown adults want to have a vape or a beer or smoke a joint, that should be within their freedom to do so, right? And if we want to regulate the adverse effects of sports gambling or nicotine or beer, we can do that at different levels, right? We can set age limits. You can't drink until you're 21. Maybe you can't smoke until you're 21. We want to set limits on marijuana. We can do that. About what strengths you can get. Those are the conversations I'm willing to have. But when you restrict people's freedom this way, people end up still continuing those vices regardless of
But at a much smaller level, like I've been able to demonstrate, at a much smaller level. Like, you wouldn't maximize freedom to the point that you could purchase a syringe with heroin from a vending machine, would you?
But you want to maximize freedom to the extent you can just buy a gun wherever you want.
Because it's in the Constitution.
And personal liberty is not in the Constitution, where you can't...
Not drug use. Now you're starting to mix up license and liberty, which is different.
The thing is, we need to figure out what we want grown adults to do. If grown adults in Denver want to purchase a vape, I think it should be able to. They're able to serve in the military. They're able to pay taxes. They're able to go to college. They're able to buy a gun. And they should also be able to buy a mango jewel pod if they want to. And the thing about this that's still so frustrating is that this would have no chance of passing or happening if it wasn't for Michael Bloomberg's pet issue. Again, coming back to campaign finance.
We
campaign
tax
finance,
the crud out of tobacco in this state.
Citizens United and campaign finance are such an issue that when an oligarch and a billionaire has a weird pet issue, right? And they're like, I want to ban this thing. They're going to go do it. I mean, people were really upset at the slaughter ban, right? And people are like, oh, there's a shadowy billionaire behind it. There might be. But why do we live in a society that if a billionaire wants something done, they can just write a check and move society to do so? That's something that I don't want to live in.
Let's go to socialist or communist nations where only those people are the ones that are able to push something. All right, we're having a lot of fun. Deep Segmentations here live in studio. We'll get to the phone calls. I want to talk to you about Guyry's here. My wife and I went to recently went to Guyry's. They got locations all over the Denver metro area. Got a great selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Look, I've never walked and met with a personal designer. A little overwhelmed. My wife loved it. She got to answer or ask lots of questions. Detailed dive into all the different options with regards to Hunter Douglas blinds, shades, and shutters. They even came out to our house, measured out there with lasers. They brought samples, paint samples. So everything from window treatments to full room decor, including paint, they've got it covered, and they offer that personalized in-home consultation. They'll come to you. So you can get the same expert advice I got in my house. Love it. Thrilled with my Guyry's custom blinds. The remote control. Very cool. You ever seen remote control blinds?
I actually have them.
Dude, I didn't. I was like,
they're very cool. When I come in, I show
you
people.
got a new baby in your arm? You can do it. There you go.
That's great. Highly recommend.
Kyries.com.
Socialist and communist. I'm calling you communist. You're a communist when it comes to maybe your tobacco beliefs there. That's very,
Kyries.com. GUIRYS.com. GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Kyries. They're not communists or socialists. Great capitalists. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy's out. We're having fun with Deep Singh Badhesha. He's a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. Let's push the debate to 11 this week. Let's go to the phone lines. Frank in Denver. Frank, you've been very patient. We'll get to Frank in Evergreen next. Go ahead, Frank. You're on with Jeff and Deep.
Well, thank you, guys. I'm enjoying this. Deep, I just wanted to get a little bit more history. How old are you, Deep? Where did you go to law school?
I am young, 32.
Where did you go to law school?
I went to University of Colorado Law School in Boulder.
And
then undergrad, I went to Colorado State University in Fort Collins.
How did you finance it?
So parents are first generation, or I'm first generation college student. So, mom and dad owned a small mom and pop liquor store. So dad couldn't even read or write actually in English or in Punjabi, but still was able to run the liquor store, which is a pretty amazing story. So at first they actually didn't necessarily want me to go to college. They thought that it'd be better if I became a truck driver. Many of my family members actually did this pipeline, which is like you become a truck driver, do that while you're like 18 to 22. You can make a lot of money if you're really willing to grind at it. Then you save up money and you buy like gas stations. So if you're in the Denver or Colorado area, you've probably seen a lot of folks that look like me who own 7-Elevens or gas stations or convenience stores, and that's kind of a tried and true pipeline, and some of my cousins and family members have done that. My sister actually owns 4 7-Elevens, so shout out to the sister. She owns a pizza store too, so she's crushing it. Me and my wife are the ones that went to law school that were dumb. When it came to undergrad, I was very fortunate to have a Pell Grant, so Pell Grant paid for a lot of CSU. Then I also had academic scholarships, so my mom was always, why is this an A-? Why is this not an A? Very Asian parent. So I did get scholarships, and I got grants, and then I worked through college. So did random tasks. I was a resident assistant, a bunch of things. So
Yeah.
and then law school also worked throughout it.
What do you plan to do with it, your law degree?
So as I was mentioning, I currently work right now as a lobbyist. The only thing worse than a lawyer is a lobbyist, right? So I had worked at large law firms. I had worked at civil rights firms. I had worked for the courts. Started off my career clerking at the Colorado Supreme Court. I actually had an offer to go to a large law firm, making it an insane amount of money. But instead, I decided to do more public service. So from there, I pivoted, worked at the Department of Labor and Employment, worked for the Democrats at the House level, and yeah, so.
We've got about 2 minutes left. Go ahead, Frank.
I still represent some folks pro bono. Just helped another friend of mine settle a lawsuit against a large real estate company.
Thank you for that service. I was going to ask you, of your family members, what percentage have you persuaded to come over to the DSA?
So my wife and my
what's
brother.
their political breakdown?
So my wife and my brother-in-law are also members of DSA. My mother, my father had passed away about 2 years ago. He never actually saw retirement, so he died at 65, which is very unfortunate. We sold the liquor store 3 weeks after his death. So he worked every single day, like 7 days a week. Like, I'm talking 60, 70 hours a week. He was an amazing, hard-working guy, and he was like a community pillar, which is funny to say out of a liquor store guy, but he was always someone in the community willing to, offer a helping hand, be there. Sorry, tangential about my father. When it comes to my family or my mother feels like the beating heart of America in some ways, where she voted for Clinton twice. So she did Clinton, Bush, then she did Obama. 2016, she caucused for Bernie Sanders, and in the general election, she forgot to vote. So she didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. And then in 2020, she wanted to support Bernie Sanders again, but she's like, he doesn't have a chance. Let's just do Biden. And then in 2024, she felt so disinfected, and she's like, Kamala's not going to win. What are we doing? So it's interesting. Like, my mom really does feel like this working class person, right, that does that. So when it comes to my cousins, my sister, and all that kind of stuff, I would say the spectrum skews everywhere from conservative to
Frank, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We're just up against the top of the hour. I would say, with all that wealth that your father built, your family deserves all of it.
I would actually, we didn't build that much wealth from the liquor store. Actually, we basically broke even.
I don't want it going to government. I want it going to you guys and his grandson, daughter. You're listening to